The world famous MC Eiht's in the house, and Compton's Most Wanted's in the house. What's up, all the Yo MTV fans that never got a chance to see MC Eiht and Compton's Most Wanted? Finally, we here.
A crooked childhood is what the way I am.
Honestly, to me, this quick got started over just people's misunderstandings of he was a blood, I was a Crip. Okay, that was natural. I had a song called Death Wish. In the song, it had a verse that said, biting me quick would mean you get my sucked quick. People took that to say I was dissing quick.
You said that in Compton, people get shot at for playing DJ Quick in their car sometimes.
I got shot at. We was going up Rosecrans and Central, and I was bumping this in my Cadillac, and we just heard pop, pop, pop. I hit the corner and kept pushing.
If we're talking about rappers who don't get the shine they deserve, Aaron Bernard Tyler, better known as MC Eiht, has to be at the top of that list. If any rapper truly captures Compton's raw energy and creative fire, it's him. MC Eiht is an icon in his own right who made a huge impact with his music, much of which drew directly from his life in Compton.
I guess I'll be another victim of the ghetto. Ain't no escaping cause I'm way too young.
What makes Eiht MC Eiht?
I'm the rapper version of what in the streets and the pens or females who hustle. I put that in the rhyme form so can relate to it. You know, cause I'm just a regular man just like everybody else, you know. It can happen to me, it can happen to anybody.
Most people know him as the leader of the legendary rap group Compton's Most Wanted, but he's also known for something much bigger and much more chaotic, triggering one of Compton's deadliest wars between the Bloods and Crips. This wasn't just any street war, it was all tied to one of hip-hop's most infamous beefs, MC Eiht versus DJ Quick.
Honestly, to me, this quick got started over just people's misunderstandings of he was a blood, I was a Crip. Okay, that was natural.
These two were at each other's throats for years, starting back in the mid-1980s. Diss tracks flew back and forth, heating up the rivalry to the point where it went way beyond music. Things got so bad that people were literally getting shot just for playing one of their songs in the wrong neighborhood.
You said that in Compton, people get shot at for playing DJ Quick in their car sometimes.
I got shot at. We was going up Rosecrans and Central, and I was bumping this in my Cadillac, and we just heard pop, pop, pop. I hit the corner and kept pushing.
And MC Eiht might have been the one who sparked it all. So how did MC Eiht end up in the middle of such a deadly situation? Let's break it down. MC Eiht, born Aaron Bernard Tyler on May 22, 1971 in Compton, California, grew up in the heart of one of the most notorious neighborhoods in the city, near Tranyu Park. It didn't take long for him to get caught up in the street life, and he would eventually become a member of the Tranyu Park Compton Crips, whose turf stretched from 154th Street to Alondra Boulevard between Central and Clymar Avenues. Growing up in such an environment meant Eiht was exposed to violence and drug dealing at an incredibly young age. By the time he was just 5 years old, he'd already witnessed the harsh realities of the hood.
Coming from the hood, coming out of Compton. Well, basically, you know, I started off a couple of years ago, you know, mixed up in the gang, you know, maybe a little drug dealing or something like that.
Like many young men in his situation, Eiht eventually jumped off the porch, fully immersing himself in gang culture. He admitted to gangbanging and experimenting with drugs during those years, but he wasn't blind to the darkness that came with it. From the brutal interactions between police and the community to the devastating toll gang life took on families, Eiht saw it all. He lost people to the streets, friends who died, went to prison, or were just trying to survive. But instead of letting that consume him, he chose to channel those experiences into something bigger, music. Eiht realized early on that music had the power to reach everyone in the hood, no matter what side they were on, Blood or Crip. Gang ties didn't matter when it came to a beat and a raw story that spoke to their shared struggles.
You know, growing up in the neighborhood, you see a lot of stuff that happens and goes on with the police. As for a way for me to get out of the gang situation, you know, I tried to take my position into what I had learned from the homies who had passed and the homies who were in jail. You know, I took that into a form to where, you know, I could get that to, you know, to homies in every hood.
This led him to pursue rapping seriously while still entrenched in gang life. He adopted the rap name MC Eiht, drawing inspiration from KRS-One's use of numerals and choosing Eiht for its deep roots in hood culture. It symbolized things like the Old English 800 malt liquor, commonly called 8-ball, and .38 caliber firearms, items deeply embedded in the street lifestyle. In the mid-1980s, Eiht took his first steps into music by becoming part of the rap group Compton's Most Wanted, CMW. The group's lineup included Thaw Chill, DJ Mike T, and producers DJ Slip and The Unknown DJ. Back then, Eiht and Thaw Chill were still gangbanging while recording demo tapes, also known as hood tapes, in their spare time. It wasn't until they saw their childhood friend MC Ren, a member of the iconic NWA, blowing up in Los Angeles that they realized there was a way out of the streets. Watching Ren rise to fame alongside legends like Eazy-E, Dr. Dre, Ice Cube, DJ Yella, and Arabian Prince inspired them to take their music more seriously. Compton's Most Wanted went on to release several hits, including Death Wish, One Time Gaffled 'Em Up, and many more. Their success wasn't just a breakthrough for West Coast hip-hop, it was a lifeline for Eiht. Music became his ticket out of the gangbanging lifestyle. With his career taking off, Eiht made a bold decision. He left Compton behind. In interviews, Eiht opened up about why he chose to move away from the city he grew up in. For him, it was about creating a better life for his kids. He didn't want them growing up surrounded by the same violence and instability he had experienced.
I don't want my kids to grow up in the environment I grew up in. So I moved out, I sent my kids to the good schools, away from the up.
Eiht made it clear that staying in Compton would only mean dealing with the same issues he faced as a teenager. Instead, he moved to a safer neighborhood where his kids could attend good schools and live without the constant reminders of gang culture. No graffiti on the walls, no fear of what might happen around the corner.
Me staying in Compton would mean me having to deal with the same situations as I dealt with as a teenager. The community where I could walk out my front door and wouldn't have to see gang fighting and like that because I lived in that.
But before MC Eiht started enjoying the success of Compton's Most Wanted, CMW, he found himself in the middle of one of the most dramatic and dangerous chapters of his career, his infamous beef with DJ Quick. At the time, both DJ Quick and MC Eiht, through CMW, were hustling to make a name for themselves in the underground Compton mixtape scene. DJ Quick, who was homeless and struggling, was out on the streets selling mixtapes and DJing at parties and clubs. He was really doing whatever it took to get his name out there. He was hungry for attention and figured that dissing a rival would spark the buzz he needed to stand out. Quick decided to call out Compton's Most Wanted on his 1987 mixtape, The Red Tape. The tape featured a track called Real Dough, where Quick dropped a subtle mention of CMW. While it wasn't a full-on diss, the reference was clear enough to stir the pot. At the same time, Quick didn't shy away from repping his affiliation with the Treetop Piru, a notorious blood set based in Compton. Initially, the mention didn't cause much of a ripple because Quick was still relatively unknown. He was grinding hard but hadn't yet reached the ears of the wider audience. However, as Quick's mixtapes started gaining traction, the Red Tape found its way into more hands, and people started paying attention to that little line about CMW. By the late 80s, Quick's persistence was paying off. He was building a name for himself, and in 1990, his hustle finally caught the attention of Profile Records, who signed him to a deal. Around this time, MC Eiht finally got wind of Quick's mention on Real Dough, and he wasn't about to let it slide. He decided to respond, and on June 19, 1990, CMW dropped their debut album, It's a Compton Thing. The album featured a track called Duck Sick, which was Eight's direct clapback at Quick. In the song's first verse, Eiht made it clear he wasn't here for Quick's games. He warned Quick not to act like some kind of hero for the Bloods by dissing Crips on wax.
This CMW boy, you ain't said jack. Just since tell you, kick it, don't be a hero.
It was a strong response that set the tone for what would become an all-out war. From that moment, the beef was official. But this wasn't just about trading bars anymore. With Quick repping Treetop Piru and Eiht repping Tranyu Park Compton Crips, the rivalry took on a dangerous gang-related edge. The rivalry between DJ Quick and MC Eiht kept heating up as their careers started taking off. On January 15th, 1991, DJ Quick dropped his debut album Quick Is the Name. One of the tracks, Deep, caught some attention because of its third verse. Fans speculated that Quick threw shade at MC Eiht and CMW, referencing their track One Time Gaffled 'Em Up, which talks about police brutality. In the verse, Quick allegedly implied that CMW acted tough until the cops showed up. By that summer, CMW came back strong with their album Straight Checkin' M, released on July 16th, 1991. The album featured the track Death Wish, which many believe was a direct response to Quick. The first verse contained what sounded like threats aimed at Quick, and in the second verse, Eiht seemed to call out Quick by name, even referencing their earlier diss exchanges, like CMW's track Duck Sick.
To the Compton psycho, biting me quick when me you get the duck sick.
This had fans buzzing even more, but Eiht later denied that Death Wish had anything to do with DJ Quick. In an interview with DJ Vlad, Eiht claimed the diss was all a misunderstanding, saying he didn't even know who Quick was at the time.
I had a song called Death Wish. In the song, it had a verse that said, biting me quick would mean you get my sucked quick. People took that to say I was dissing Quick.
Interesting. Okay.
I never knew him. It was just a phrase to me.
However, fans weren't convinced. Eiht's story didn't add up, especially since Quick's earlier disses had specifically called out CMW, not all Crip-affiliated rappers as Eiht claimed. Eiht even suggested that Quick dissed NWA, particularly Eazy-E, but that theory didn't hold water either. Quick and Eazy-E were known to be friends, with Eazy even trying to sign Quick to Ruthless Records. All this back and forth made Eiht's denials hard to believe, and fans pointed out that the timeline of events didn't quite match his story. Regardless of the exact starting point, by this time the beef was undeniable. Some fans trace it back to 1987, when Quick first called out CMW on the red tape. Others think it really escalated with CMW's Duck Sick in 1990. Either way, the tension was real, and it wasn't long before Quick decided to fire back. On July 21st, 1992, Quick dropped his second album, Way Too Funky. Quick didn't hold back and addressed MC Eiht on not one but two tracks. The album's title track, Way Too Funky, featured a mix of subliminal and direct shots at Eiht. In the second verse, Quick directly called out CMW's track Death Wish and made it clear he wasn't going to let the diss slide.
I got a death wish. You should try again, fool, you ain't hitting this.
Then came the album's closing track, The Last Word, where Quick got even more personal. He shouted out his crew and supporters, but when it came time to address his beefs, Quick got ruthless. His comments about Eiht were sharp, disrespectful, and left no room for misinterpretation. Of course, MC Eiht wasn't going to let DJ Quick's disses slide. Later that year, on September 29th, 1992, CMW dropped their album Music to Drive By, and Eiht used several tracks to fire back at Quick. On Duck Sick 2, Eiht went in on Quick, mocking him for making party tracks and clowning his high-pitched rapping style. Another track, Dead Men Tell No Lies, featured subliminal disses in the first two verses. Eiht didn't name names, but the target seemed obvious. It was likely aimed at DJ Quick. By the third verse, Eiht got more direct, addressing Quick's earlier diss on Real Dough, where Quick had claimed he was going to shoot CMW off the top of the tree. Eiht called Quick out, asking why he even bothered to diss him on the underground tape in the first place. Then came Death Wish 2, where Eiht launched a full-scale lyrical attack on Quick. The Death Wish 2 music video took the beef to another level. In the video, there was a DJ Quick lookalike who appeared to be having nightmares about getting beaten and offed by CMW and Eiht. While all this was happening, DJ Quick was becoming more closely tied to one of the most powerful forces in hip-hop at the time, Death Row Records. Quick had a long-standing friendship with Death Row's infamous CEO, Suge Knight. Both men were from Compton and shared blood affiliations, so their connection wasn't surprising. Suge eventually brought Quick into the Death Row fold, where Quick worked on projects and was associated with the label, though he never officially released an album under the Death Row banner. Regardless, this affiliation gave Quick even more weight in the rap game, as Death Row was dominating the industry at the time. Interestingly, there was a moment of unexpected tension, or perhaps clarity, between MC Eiht and Suge Knight. Eight's mom happened to live across the street from Suge's mother, which made for an awkward proximity given the beef between Eiht and Quick. One day, while Eiht was visiting his mom, Suge and his crew pulled up on him while he was driving through the neighborhood. Suge's goons approached Eight's car, creating a tense moment. But Suge quickly diffused the situation. He told Eiht that the beef with DJ Quick wouldn't spill over into his mother's neighborhood. Essentially, Suge was giving Eiht reassurance that he didn't have to worry about any drama involving Quick or Death Row reaching his mom's doorstep.
Suge pulled up on me one day while I was, by mom's house, and he told me to pull over, and he just wanted to tell me, as far as the situation that was going down with me and Quick, it wouldn't be trickled over into my mom's place of residence.
According to MC Eiht, one of his CMW crew members, the unknown DJ, allegedly tried to work with Death Row Records, but things didn't go well. Eiht claims that Suge Knight and his crew jumped him.
One of my producers was associated with Death Row, Unknown. Unknown had went over to Death Row and started trying to work with. He got his whooped.
By 1994, both artists were at pivotal points in their careers. DJ Quick had scrapped an entire album he'd been working on, feeling it wasn't up to par. He started from scratch, which delayed the release of his third project. Meanwhile, MC Eiht was riding high with the release of his debut solo album, We Come Strapped, on July 19th, 1994. This album kept the beef alive with yet another installment of the Death Wish series. But Quick wasn't the type to let that slide. He decided it was time to respond, and he didn't just throw in a few subliminals. He recorded a full-length diss track aimed squarely at MC Eiht. On October 18, 1994, Death Row Records released the Emder Was the Case soundtrack, and on it was Quick's explosive diss track, Dollars and Cents. Quick came out swinging in the first verse, taking shots at Eiht and even referencing the Tragnew Park Crip set that Eiht was associated with. He got personal, mentioning a rumored airport confrontation between the two and calling Eiht out by his real name, Aaron Tyler. Quick clowned Eiht for calling himself the Compton Psycho and questioned his street credibility.
Now Aaron Tyler, tell me why you seem so tame when I caught you at the airport. Psycho, boy, you oughta quit. Your records don't hit and bitches don't jock your shit.
The second verse delivered more heat, but it was the third verse where Quick dropped one of the most iconic lines in diss track history. Even Quick admitted in interviews that when he wrote that verse, he knew it was game over.
EIHT, now should I continue? Yeah, you left out the G, cause the G ain't in you.
Cause the G ain't in you. And I slid the pencil across the bottom of it, and I got up and walked away from the table. I knew that was it.
Dollars and Cents was an instant classic, solidifying itself as one of the greatest diss tracks of all time and proving Quick's genius when it came to battle rap. Fast forward to February 21st, 1995, and Quick finally dropped his highly anticipated third album, Safe Plus Sound. Released under Profile Records but executively produced by Suge Knight, the album featured Dollars and Cents and even more tracks taking aim at MC Eiht. On Let You Have It, Quick addressed Eiht again, this time revisiting the infamous line from Real Dough Off the Red Tape where he rapped about the top of the tree. Quick clarified that the line wasn't even a diss, it was just his way of saying he was on the rise and letting CMW know he was coming for his spot.
Yeah, I said your monkey name in my underground tape, but if you beat the game, we wasn't dissing, letting you know the other side was on a mission coming up with the quick.
This is where the beef starts to get a little tricky to follow. MC Eiht had repeatedly claimed, both in interviews and on wax, that DJ Quick dissed him on the track Real Dough, saying something about shooting him off the top of the tree. But the truth is, Quick never actually said that, so it's possible that Eiht completely misinterpreted what Quick meant or twisted the line in his mind to mean something it didn't. By the summer of 1995, the beef between DJ Quick and MC Eiht wasn't showing any signs of cooling off. On August 3rd, 1995, the iconic Source Awards took place at the Paramount Theater in New York City. This night went down in history as one of hip-hop's most infamous events, primarily due to Suge Knight's speech that escalated the East Coast versus West Coast Coast rivalry. But the night also marked a new chapter in the feud between DJ Quick and MC Eiht. DJ Quick took the stage to perform, knowing full well that MC Eiht was sitting in the crowd. In one of the boldest and most disrespectful moves in rap beef history, Quick performed his diss track Dollars and Cents right in front of Eiht. To make matters worse, Quick added extra disses both before and after the performance.
I'd like to dedicate this song to my fiance, MC Eiht. Eiht, tell me why you act so scary, giving your set a bad name with your misspelled name. Now should I continue? Yeah, he left out the G cause the G ain't in you.
MC Eiht, despite the provocation, chose not to react. Considering he was massively outnumbered by Suge Knight's death row entourage, he decided to leave instead. The tension in the air was thick, and with Suge stirring the pot on stage, Eiht realized that escalating the situation wasn't worth risking his life. Fast forward to April 9th, 1996, and MC Eiht fired back with his second solo album, Death Threats. On this project, he continued the Death Wish series with Death Wish 4, where he aimed to respond to Quick's relentless attacks. On the second verse, Eiht addressed the line from Dollars and Cents where Quick had claimed they ran into each other at an airport and that Eiht was scared. Eiht clapped back, calling the story fake and giving his version of what went down during the alleged airport encounter. As time went on, the feud between DJ Quick and MC Eiht began to cool down. By the late 90s, the rap scene had shifted, and DJ Quick was in a different place in his career. After witnessing the tragic losses of Tupac and Biggie, Quick wanted to move away from the gangsta rap sound that had defined so much of his earlier work. He was looking for growth, maturity, and a fresh perspective in his music. On July 14, 1998, DJ Quick dropped the first single from his upcoming album, Rhythmalism, called Use a Gangsta. This song marked a turning point. On the second verse, Quick addressed the long-standing feud with MC Eiht, mentioning that they used to have beef. The key word there was used to. In Quick's eyes, the conflict was over. He was ready to leave it all in the past and move forward. After the release of this song, the disses between DJ Quick and MC Eiht stopped completely. There were no more shots fired in songs, no subliminal, and no public feuding. The two artists seemed to move on with their lives and careers. A major turning point came on July 21, 1999, when DJ Quick and MC Eiht appeared together for an interview on BET. Seeing them side by side after years of back and forth was a powerful moment for fans, and a sign that the beef had been officially squashed. For many, it was a reminder of how far both artists had come since their early days in the Compton mixtape scene.